Hey, you guys, I just wanted to come on here with some random stuff. Um, I posted a Reuben report that was a couple of days old when I posted it, probably yesterday. And there were a few things I was thinking of talking about, but I can't remember what they were except for the one, and that was the clips toward the end with Trump, and he was kind of giving everybody, his thoughts. Well, I mean, his strategy that he is basically saying that could be drastic. I mean, what the choices were would have basically killed the whole population, if you ask me. I mean, and that's bomb the bridges, their electrical, I guess their water and all that, because these mass murderers, I'm not calling them terrorists anymore, because they're far worse than that. They are Jack the Ripper mass murderers. We all know what a mass murderer is. A mass murderer is someone who, what do they define it as? Someone who goes somewhere and kills more than two people, three people. Sometimes it's 50, like at that concert in Las Vegas. And I can't remember some of them here in America, but that's when people mass murder a group, okay? And these people have been doing this for all their lives to the Jews, bombing them all the time. Um, and that's all they want is to kill the Jews and take Israel. So that's their death wish. That's the hill that they are going to die on. And you will not be able to rehabilitate that. And they just have to die because that's biblical. When you're a mass murderer and you are incorrigible, you get the death penalty or you get imprisoned forever for life. So why does the world, the free world, put up with this? And then they want to cry about China and North or South Korea, how they have inhumane, whatever the term is, um, crimes against humanity, or I don't know the term, but I mean, don't talk about them when, like, you care so much about China and them, Korea, how they treat their people when we've allowed this to happen to Israel and even the United States 9/11, and we turn a blind eye all the time. And so I was also back and forth worrying about, is Trump serious? Is this a game? Is this a joke? Is this a fake thing to bide some time? That, I mean, and then Eric Stakelbeck since April has been upset that it was a ceasefire, which, you know, I guess I lost track of why we stopped bombing them, but he didn't. He didn't. It irks him all the time. He's glad finally that they're starting to bomb again. But I think I did realize one day, because I was thinking about it because he was mentioning it again, and I'm like, well, why? And I think I posted or said it in a video that it's was because during that time, somehow we had to do something with the strait, like we closed it or something. We went after it or whatever, those mines and stuff. So that, I think, was the turning point when Trump realized that, oh, this is a good tool to use. And I think that's when he started to stop bombing, because, and then not only that, I think it was a plateau, but hey, I don't know for a fact, I'm just guessing. And I think there was a plateau in what they could bomb or something like that. And then, it made me mad when I heard Pete Hegseth say, we're watching them, we know where they all are. And I'm thinking, why aren't you bombing them then? Why are we playing games? Why do we have to pretend negotiate with mass murderers? Okay? This is a million times worse than China and Korea. Okay? With whatever they label them as. Where was I? So, yeah. The he did this straight, and that was pretty good, and he was really loving that until I think one day he's like, wait a minute, whoops, it's ruining the economy and the stock market or something. And so he maybe designed this MOU thing that he knew wasn't. I thought, this is a joke, but then I wasn't so sure, and I was going back and forth. And then this turkey thing is, how he said about the turkey, and I did not know anything about turkey when I said that, but all along I know turkey's bad, but I don't know why. I just have heard turkey's bad, so I will always comment that way. And then that day he said that we're pretty good friends, and when I asked him not to get involved, he didn't get involved, and that festered in me a few days. And then I said it on a video, and then I heard some more videos that talking about that, and they were giving the facts that I didn't know. And I would post those videos, okay? And then that started scaring me, and and I'm thinking, okay, well, wait, because they're telling me he's, that's why he's bad news, because he funds the Brotherhood. And I mean, we're over there negotiating, whether it's fake or real, with mass murderers, and now he's going to hop into bed with another mass murderer and sell them fighter jets. I'm like, wow. Am I in the Twilight Zone? I mean, so I'm like, of course I pray about it, and that's how I get these harebrained ideas, I guess. And I'm thinking, well, they can't get the fighter jets right away, which I found out. And this is another game, and he's going to just do this to expose him over time, because he can't fight two wars. He can barely handle, not that he can barely handle Iran, I take that back, but Iran, the mass murderer, Jack the Rippers, are so hard to get that he's almost seems to be at a loss. And now, unless he kills the whole population, cuts off their food and electricity and water, and it takes electricity to clean the water. And I see 2CTV has a video out now, and it sounds like they're bombing the police stations. I hope they find out where the prisons are and bomb those, but not with the people in them. They need to let the people go, because Iran doesn't have crime, really. They'll let a rapist go, but they won't let a Christian or a woman showing a lock of hair. Yeah, they're mostly innocent in those prisons. So, I mean, I'd say 99%. So, anyway, I was like, okay, Trump put it on hold. He found out they lose a lot of money. They tell us sanctions don't bother them. Being sanctioned doesn't bother them. That's not really. So, but yet he allowed them to sell their oil for a little while for the economy, but not give them sanctions, which is fine. But, I mean, okay, then I was mad about Pete Hegseth saying, well, we're watching them and we know where they are. And I'm like, why don't you bomb them? And then here now, they start this kinetic activity, they call it, again. And I'm like, okay, I've heard once that when Lebanon, is it Lebanon? When Israel found that massive tunnel in Lebanon, they didn't know about it until something was shot out from it. And that's how they found out about it, I think. So, Because I remember commenting something like people were mad that everything was on pause. And I'm like, hey, when things are on pause, look what happens. We find out more locations, okay? When it's on pause, because they're using their stash, they're using their emergency stash. So we can find out new locations. Well, but this time when we're going back to kinetic activity, did they find all those new locations because they were shot from those locations, or did they already know about them? And even before that, when we first bombed them, went back to bombing them because what did they do? It wasn't this latest bombing, but it was where they listed all the shacks, like the radio shacks, all the little rice boats or whatever they're called. They bombed a bunch of stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, even then, that was like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, maybe. I'm like, why didn't you do this a long time ago? And then it's making me wonder, maybe this MOU was real. It wasn't a joke. Because if it wasn't if it was a joke, then they would have bombed all the things. And then they brag, they say, yeah, we got 300 targets in 4 hours. I'm like, I wouldn't brag about that, because why didn't you hit them back in April? Yeah, I just don't understand, unless there's just, I mean, sometimes I wonder if it's like, if he had gone all in like that, hitting the 300 targets that he should have hit in April, and hitting all those little rice boats and stuff, and then all those little mine shacks and whatever all they hit 2 weeks ago. What if they did that back in April? Would that have pissed off Erdogan? Would that have sent him over the edge? I mean, I'm just trying to rationalize this, because it's really, I know Trump isn't a flipper or a backtracker. I know and I know God has put him in there. I know God has him in there, and God is guiding him. So, and then I would say, well, maybe God's the one that put the pause, and maybe it's, we always, as human beings, Christians, non-Christians, whatever, as human beings, we're always, thinking, what is God doing? What is God doing? He doesn't know what he's doing. God doesn't know what he's doing. And he does. It ends up looking like total hell on a popsicle stick. I just shot that out of my head. Something doesn't make sense, but it might look like crazy shit, but God, after it's over, it's always something better that could have never happened unless we went through hell on a popsicle stick. So I have experience with that, so I wasn't necessarily freaking out real bad, because I know that sometimes things can look nonsensical, but God knows exactly what he's doing, right? And I'm not saying Trump is God. I'm saying that God is running Trump. And if Trump has a bad idea, or if Trump is going solo, like maybe, so if God is swaying him, and that means that he gets a strong, definitive, I'm going to do this, that's God guiding him, and Trump, whether he knows it or not, he just does it, right? Which he's a decisive guy anyway. Well, an example of him ignoring that would be like if Trump is listening too much to somebody who is very persuasive, and he trusts them, and he's going to give them a chance. Like, I don't know if this is all part of the joke where he says, oh, I'm gonna let JD and them handle this, because He wants the spotlight off of him. He wants to be able to blame JD. He doesn't want people for the election. And Trump doesn't need to worry about the midterms because God is the one who put him in there. If God doesn't want him in there, do you think the people of America literally can get Trump out when God is the one that put him in there? No. No, it won't happen. God will move heaven and earth to keep Trump in there if God wants Trump in there. Of course, we got to do our part, but I'm wondering, did Trump jump the gun? Or was it the fact that he found out about the Strait was making them lose a lot of money, and then he decided it's late in the game now and I got to undo that so that the economy can breathe, and then now I got to have this trickery MOU and whatever. But then when I saw JD Vance handling this stuff, it really started freaking me out because JD Vance looked like he was really into it, like it wasn't a joke. And that's when I was starting to get really scared. And then I thought, okay, if Trump isn't listening to God's swaying, sure, he might have wanted JD Vance and Kushner to take over this to get some spotlight off of him so that people will forget, about Trump being in the war and talking about it and just get the people's minds off that. And it's on JD now. And I thought that's a ploy. But then I thought, and that's true. But then I was like, wait a minute, JD is probably being too influential and Trump is ignoring God's swaying. And then if that's the case, look what happened. Because God made Trump go back to kinetic activity. Okay? So that's what I mean by an example of if the leader, see, leaders are special. They're put in there by God. So even if it's Sleepy Biden for judgment, they're put in there by God and they are swayed by God. Nobody else, not you, not me. We are swayed to a degree by God, yes, but a leader is more so. Okay, so then I was, so then I heard the Rubin report on, Trump saying, well, we could bomb bridges and we can bomb this and we can bomb that. And I mean, they bombed 300 targets. Why didn't you do that before? And how many more are there? I'm sure they know where they are. Why are they not doing that? Are they afraid of Erdogan? For now, they're afraid of Erdogan because they don't want to piss him off too bad, set him off. He might sick some brotherhood or some cells somewhere on everybody. I mean, because literally Trump can't be in two wars right now with Turkey and Iran. It's like one mass murderer group at a time. And so far, Erdogan, as evil as he is, he's undercover right now. He's not ready to go full out like the others, okay? So we got to keep him like that until we're ready to strike him next. Well, but Trump went on and said, well, we can blow up all their bridges, we could cut off their electricity, which I watched a 2-seat video earlier, and they have done some of that, and people's refrigerators aren't going to work. How are they going to eat? I don't even know how they get food brought into them anyway. What farmland? I mean, what route in the ocean do they use to get their imports? I mean, that is the grossest mass murdering ring of a whole big old mass of country that I've ever seen, where we don't know anything about what's going on in there because they have cut the people off. That's bizarre. Those people are in a giant prison with a bunch of mass murderers running them because nobody can talk to them. And Trump has his options, but to me, the options he seemed to give were gonna kill everybody. I mean, if that's the case, you might as well just nuke the place. I mean, yeah, I saw it last night and I was like praying about it. I'm like, God, what is going on? I mean, these people have a death wish and they're fine with that and they don't mind. Even if Trump, say we didn't nuke him and Trump did what he wants to do, if he had to do all of those bad choices, but he has no choice, those mass murderers have a death wish and they will be fine. They'll just starve. They'll just take they'll go start rifling people's houses and getting their food. They don't care about the Iranians. So I just think that if Trump doesn't have to worry about the midterms, God is in control. He's got all kinds of people that can talk for him. He does wonderful things every day, and they don't even have time to get on the TV and tell the public about it. Well, they need to take some time out. The YouTubers can dig and find out all the bills he's passed and all the laws he's reformed and all the goody things he's done and start doing that for him. And instead of him wanting to do it himself, he needs to focus on this war, I think. I think all this time, now God can redeem time if we have wasted time. And I don't know what God wants, but Trump would know. And if it takes boots on the ground to get the one thing that's in the way, I say do boots on the ground. You've wasted this much time and we're no closer to taking over Iran than we have been. So instead of destroying their infrastructure that they're going to need one day again, hopefully, I don't know why we have plenty of, and so does Israel, plenty of highly trained PSYOP spies and SEALs and whatever all the names of them are. They can go in and do certain things. They may not can find every little hidey hole of a mass murderer, but if Hegseth says we know where they are, they can do a chunk at least. And Israel and America can send some troops on the ground and do something with those troops that can give them a breakthrough, And like I said, all this time passing, we could have had boots on the ground a long time ago if we knew we would be here at nothing or square one. Not that we're at square one. I thank God for all the miracles that have happened over there already. But this is either God pausing it or God reprimanding and turning it around back to kinetic energy, whatever. And if you're kind of at the wit's end and your only option is to obliterate the infrastructure that is necessary for human life, I'd say boots on the ground is a way better option. And I understand also, I learned this is what is very, 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 whatever the word is, important. And he mentioned this, I forgot, is that, and Israel was having this same problem with Hezbollah over there, and I think they finally fixed it or something, but all these little drones, they're deadly. They're deadly. And they're very easier, cheap. They've got mass amounts of them. They're so cheap, they're so expendable, they're so deadly. And if we had put boots on the ground, those drones would have killed everybody. I mean, we would have had to been hiding like a Navy SEAL type. That's why if they put these PSYOP people in there, that's what they would have to do. Because if boots were put on the ground, all those drones are going to kill every intruder that steps foot on Iranian soil, because they have those drones. You go ask Israel about that. You go look in the past videos when I posted one or so, how Israel, and maybe they're still having a problem with that, but they just don't talk about it anymore. But the Hezbollah, it's something like fiber optics, little wires, and then they run them through the trees like a freaking spider web, and they use those drones without any internet or whatever. And there's nothing they can do about it, because if you break them, they've got little glass in them. But I was thinking Israel could send a drone through those trees and just, like a broom, because they're laying on top of the trees, you know. Anyway, I don't think Iran is using drones in that way with fiber optics, but they have drones and they're deadly. So if Trump has known about this all along, that might be why he hasn't put boots on the ground. And I'm not for putting boots on the ground. I didn't think it was necessary. And now, after knowing about these drones, I sure as hell don't want boots on the ground. Only boots on the ground I would think is the proper, safe way is if it is those PSYOP military people, like Navy SEALs, you know, whatever they're called, like 007 types. Those are the only types that can set foot on Iranian soil for any kind of takeover. And it will have to be a secret thing where they just know where they're going and they can hide and, I guess, be dropped off in some remote mountain, and then they have a map and go find some of the cells. And I don't know, but you cannot put regular military men from reserve up in there. That's the 14 that got killed when this all first started. They were on reserve. Most of them were on reserve. I mean, instead of sending ones that are in the military day after day full time, they didn't do that. But hey, 14 died pulling out of Afghanistan because of stupid bozo. So nobody can give, you know, Trump any shit for that, because this was for good, you know, bozo boy did it stupid, you know, and they were too busy. They didn't give a shit about any of that Afghanistan stuff that was an emergency. They wanted to spend up all night long on doing their $1 trillion budget that they want to steal all the money about. So, all right, well, yeah, I'm posting this stuff about like end times. We're really pretty set up for, because of Gog and Magog are Ishmael and Islam and Muslim, and then I say this is like prime. Now remember, God is the one that has to draw the nations to surround Israel. It's a supernatural event, so it's going to happen immediately. And when it does happen, and we're all going to see it on TV, and it's God is going to do it. But the way the world is, right now with these Democrats. I shared a video from that Nate guy and these people. I also shared a cartoon on socialism. And that cartoon from 1940 or something, it says exactly what they're doing over there in New York, who Nate interviewed. They don't know how to define socialism. That cartoon from 1940 says the same thing. They said that is the socialists' ploy. It's their trick. They promise you how good it looks, but they don't explain it, and they don't tell you the repercussions, and they don't point out all the other countries that happened to. And that cartoon from 1940 did the same example that's happening today with the socialist agenda. They want to sell you snake oil, and that's how they were describing it in that cartoon from 1940. How they will say, oh, it's great, you're gonna love it, it's wonderful. And that video from Nate, all those Muslim people love Mamdani, love him, like they love him. And they've even gotten a few non-Muslims because it's snake oil. It's snake oil. So the world, it's not just America, and is all up in this stuff. Yeah. So we're really primed to fall apart because, I mean, even if you look into the future or look into, like, you're imagining what could the future if you had this, that, or this, that, or this, that scenario. Trump is forever going to be hunted with a bounty on his forehead bullseye. They hate him. Like that video I posted about Charlie Kirk and that nurse, how the doctor was jumping for joy and everything. If anything ever happened to Trump, before, people are going to they're going to love it. They're going to love it. Just like they loved it when it happened to Charlie Kirk. And if a Democrat gets in power ever, they're going to find a way to annihilate or imprison all of these Republican type figures. That will be their sole mission because they want socialism, and they're going to go after all of them. So suppose Republicans won fair and square. It's only a matter of time before these diabolical weirdos, what are they going to do? They're going to keep assassinating people? Are they going to keep doing that? Are they going to get angrier and angrier? Are they going to find ways to steal the election, steal the presidency? I'm saying, I believe the only reason they allowed Trump to win this time and not steal it like they stole it last time, and they thought they stole it with Hillary. That's why she had such a Cheshire Cat face on her, because she knew she had it in the bag, because she knew it was a foolproof cheating fraud of the election, but it failed. It was a miracle. They did it with Biden. They made sure they cheated and got Biden in. They're getting better and better at it. So this time, though, Biden scared them so bad, and they didn't want Kamala, and there was nobody else really good. Plus that, I think they're on a timeline. They don't want to do it too quickly. What they're doing, which I've quoted or commented before, is somehow it's weird how, because I know they secretly wanted Trump. I knew that before I even knew my boss was lying about secretly voting for Trump, and he's never admitted it, but I overheard him. Before I even overheard that, I could sense, I'm not saying I'm psychic or anything, but maybe I heard a few things that maybe made me feel like Democrats were afraid and they're going to secretly vote for Trump. I don't know why I felt that way, but I felt that way. I felt that maybe it was their mannerisms, maybe it was their body language or something. And I'm like, they're going to secretly vote for Trump because they're but they'll never tell their friends and they'll never tell anybody. Well, and then I overheard my boss. Well, I think the reason because we know they want to take over the world, right? Well, if they want to take over the world, then why would they care if Kamala got in there and ruined everything, right? Why would they care? Why would they even be afraid? It's only the stupid Joe Schmo sheeple like my boss who don't really know the end game. But the ones in power do. They do know the end game. So I'm wondering, well, why wouldn't they have let Kamala in and just totally destroy it and finish the job? And I don't know the answer to that, but I think that's what's going on. They hate the rich white man, but yet they're stealing. They're the ones stealing all the money. Yet they're telling their followers, we hate the white rich man and we got to tax him and we hate anything good and we like only debauchery and we're just going to destroy. I already made a comment about that. So I don't know what's wrong with my like I got a chest sinus or something. So anyway, I think they have some sort of a time, like an Agenda 2030 thing. And Soros over there is telling them, no. You can't have anything happen before 2030. It's got to be on a strategic blah, blah timeline. And it's too soon. So you're going to have to let Trump get in there and fix a few things that Biden totally slept through. Because all these Dems are the ones stealing the money. It's not the rich white man that they're brainwashing their stupid idiots, sheeple to believe. They're the ones stealing all the money. They're the ones doing all this fraud. And I think it's because when this one world bullshit 2030 agenda comes about, they want to be part of it. See, they're being promised by whoever is running this show. They're being promised that if you steal this much and that much, you're the top stealer, Gavin Newsom, Bass, Mamdani. Y'all are the top producers in theft, fraud, robbing America. Okay. And the raghead lady, over there in Minnesota. So they're like, I think that's why they want to break America down, rip her off, and send the money over to the Brotherhood and the whatever. Like they said, a lot of the money, Ilhan Omar, or whatever her name is in Minnesota, she sent a lot of that to that country, Pakistan maybe, and they built a lot of mosques. They proved it. They built a bunch of buildings, not mosques, buildings. So when she said she's laughing like a Cheshire cat, saying, oh, that was just a misprint in my bank account. And all of a sudden the money's gone. That's because she sent it to Pakistan or wherever the country was. I forget. So these demonic ones that are doing all the fraud, they're doing it for a reason. And it's so that they can get a seat of power. They hate all the rich people, yet they're rich themselves, like that Roe guy or whatever, that Indian guy. Okay? And all these rich men and actors and actresses and singers and Hollywood, yeah, they're all promised something. So they like to bitch about stolen land and rich white men, but yet they're not poor and they're not the ones giving up their millions. Okay, so see, it's all some kind of snake oil. Okay, so end times is what I was talking about. And it's so baked in, they say. All this snake oil has really taken root and people really believe this. Because the Dems have done a phenomenal job at this brainwashing. So even if the SAVE Act, God saves the SAVE Act, Who's to say they won't adhere to that? I don't know. Are they going to have guardrails for that? Um, I'm just saying that they might steal an election midterm, try it out on midterm, see if it works. They're getting better at this. California has stolen every one of those elections. Whether New York has or not, I don't know. The people seem to love these ragheads. Um, but maybe it was stolen. Um, maybe people weren't voting. But the fact is that this is baked in, and even if it's stolen, if midterms were stolen, God allowed it. If and then he's just, what do they call it, a lame duck in the water president because he lost the midterms. Well, maybe God wanted it that way. Even if he did or didn't, suppose the next presidential election, um, everybody votes for, because all the good guys are waking up, right? All the normalish, even some left weirdos are waking up, and a lot of black people. Okay, so suppose Rubio wins fair and square after Trump. Um, what if they're more cunning at stealing the election and they get a crazy Dem in there? Okay, well, then think about the scenario. What if Rubio does get in? Over time, I mean, we got to live in this world with rabid Dems that are brainwashed. What's going to happen to New York? What's going to happen to California? What if the SAVE Act doesn't get saved? What if it does? What's going to happen in New York and California even after that is saved? Okay, then, I mean, do you run this stuff through your mind? I mean, it's worst case scenario, SAVE Act doesn't get saved. Midterms are lost. Trump is a lame duck in the water. Rubio loses because it's cheated out from under him. Okay? Best case scenario, against all odds, Trump wins the midterms. Rubio, against all odds and fraud, and maybe the SAVE Act got saved, maybe it didn't. Rubio gets in power. Still, what is going to be done about New York and California? Are there going to be some arrests, some prosecutions? Not only that, what if not? If not, we Republicans have to live in our country with the barrel of a gun at our head all the time. Rubio would have to be protected nonstop. I just heard, I'm missing Eric Stakelbeck because I missed him earlier today, and now, but anyway, and he's got a good guest on, but I forgot what the subject was, but the justices, the Supreme Court justices are in Congress right now asking for more security because they're getting death threats all the time. What's her name that Trump put in there? She has to wear bulletproof. She said she has to explain to her kids why she has to go to work with a bulletproof vest on every day. The Supreme Court judges are getting death threats. They're getting packages, weird packages, okay? They need more home security. They're asking Congress for more home security and more security around the Supreme Court Justice Building, I guess. So, listen, you guys, you just have to think about the what ifs. And worst case scenario, I'm just trying to show you, even the best case scenario, the baked in psycho snake oil purchasers are rabid. And, we're going to have to live like that from now on. What are we going to do about all the illegals? What are we going to do about all the Muslim takeover, the mosques they build? And I heard most of them are empty, but they don't care because they're planning for the future when this whole country is Muslim. They now have all their empty buildings. I heard that a long time ago. So since this was a random video, I was thinking one night, just a random thought, how, that Vietnam War, Korean War. And, I'm not going to disrespect my dad or anything, but I'll just tell you this one thing because my mother knows about it. And, but my dad, I'm the fifth one out of my mother and dad. And mommy named all the kids, no big deal. Daddy, though, decided, hey, I want to name this one. So he wanted to name me, and he wanted to name me Cece, okay? And my mother knew. He told her, I want to name her after a Korean stripper that he had met over there in Korea. Now, my mother and he met while he was in the military. I guess he was a GI, and over there in Oklahoma, because he's from North Carolina, she's from Oklahoma, but it's the military town in Oklahoma, and they met and got married. He had been to Korea, I think. Now, after they got married, he wasn't in the military long after that, but I guess maybe he remembered some certain Korean stripper from the past, but I don't think so. I think maybe he went back, but not while she was pregnant with me, I don't think. But anyway, he wanted to name me after a Korean stripper, and her name was Cece, and obviously. And my mother said, being a good-hearted woman, knowing he was cheating on her most of the time during 5 pregnancies, but and she had the other one, 6 kids. She's had 6 kids with my half-sister, the youngest. Anyway, so she said, well, we're not going to name her Cece, but we'll give her a Christmassy name because I was supposed to be born on Christmas Day. That was her due date. And but I was a month early. So she said, we'll give her a Christmassy name and call her Cece. So my first and middle name both begin with a C. And because, and my whole family, everybody knows me as Cece, except for, in school, you give them your birth certificate growing up, you go to the doctor, you give them your license, it says your full real name. Cece is a nickname. Okay, so all right, I'm giving you this story for a reason, and that's because one day, not years ago, like over a year ago at work over there in Texas, this guy came into the store, and he and my boss were talking and about some overseas military something, and I don't know what was said. I don't remember what got me on the subject of men in the military that go to these foreign countries like Korea back then, and they have sex with women that get pregnant, and they leave the women and the children. That's called an orphan or fatherless, okay? That's why God over and over is mentioning the fatherless, the orphan, the widow, the poor, okay? Because that's been going on since the beginning of time, these men that can't keep it in their pants. And so last night I was thinking about that. I'm like, you know what? Again, I was thinking about that again. Because I know my dad, I'm sure he's got a lot of babies over there. I'm sure I have a lot of half-brothers and sisters over there. And who knows where they've ended up. And anyway, so I Googled it. I happened to Google it last night. And something about Korean babies. from military men. And it was an epidemic, yeah. Not only that, then it became an adoption fraud ring where they were literally stealing Korean babies that weren't even half American. Well, anyway, so I'm just saying that it really broke my heart how many children, fatherless children, from just that, from just these wars, from just any country, not just America, where Americans went to Korea. When my dad, because I looked it up, when was that war? And my dad was over there in after it was over because America kept a presence there after all that was over. So these military guys would go over there to keep the American presence there, and they're gonna go do these Korean women. Okay. Oh, it was a Korean stripper. Yeah. So that Korean stripper was sex trafficked, obviously, or she was just trying to make ends meet. So my dad wanted to name me after a Korean stripper that I'm sure had sex with him. And not only that, maybe he knows he got her pregnant. Maybe he had feelings for her and was sorry. I don't know. It's really sad, you know. It's so sad. A lot of fatherless. And then you read about it some more, and over there in Korea, it's really, the Koreans are very prejudiced against half breeds, half American. Germans and French were over there too, I think. Um, and those children grow up around the other Koreans. They're stigmatized if they have some white features at all, you know, because they're a half breed. So, and then that brings me to Joyce Meyer, because, you know, I have a heart for the sex trafficked and the sexually abused by their parents or their stepfathers or the boyfriends. And it's not only the sex, okay? It is the mind, the mental degradation, the gall. Like the story of, you know, Joyce Meyer said in the back of the car, I mean, and then a cop shines a light in. And then her dad, oh no, wait. Okay, well, I've told you that. I won't go into that again because it's disgusting. Men are disgusting when they are disgusting like that man. Sex traffickers, sex offenders. Okay, so, but she was saying how one time she was describing how when her mom needed to go grocery shopping, you know, usually the daughter needs to go learn mother stuff, you know, daughter stuff. And her dad, so this is an example of the mind game on top of the sexual violation, the rape. Her dad said, act like you don't want to go grocery shopping and act excited to stay home with me. Okay? So when we know already that children are getting violated by all kinds of men, fathers, boyfriends, whatever, trafficking, but on top of that, just remember they're being mentally raped as well. And so, yeah, she has this project girl, Joyce Meyer, and you should really consider, because so they go to, I guess it's India, but they'll give you like a story. This girl, Rita, is her Ritu or something, and she was given away as a child bride at 10 or 11. She had a child. The guy was abusing her. She ran off. And then she got in the wrong, you know, her family. Oh, no, what it was then she ran back home to her family. Her family made her go be a dancer. And that dancer over there in that country of India, you're also a sex worker. And she got trapped into that. So, but Joyce Meyer has these, it's called Project girl. Let me see. Just, you can spell that. And I think girl is GRL because it stands for, but I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm sure, yeah, it's Project GRL. So they have these buses, these vans that are in, I guess it's India, and they help these women who have been abused and violated. They give them the gospel. The van has gynecologists in there. It has fully stocked medication for any of the female needs, and they examine them physically. They give them emotional counseling and help. And it's like how Melania, yeah, Trump. I guess I think that's Donald's first name sometimes. She's doing the orphans and some like money, whatever it's called, like whatever she's passing for the orphans. And I was thinking, I hope she not only gives them the best financial care, but gives them the best the best counseling doctors, the best physical doctors, because you don't know, a lot of those orphans have been violated. Also, they're going to need psychological help as well. It's a whole package. You're not just a body. You're a mind, you're a soul, you're a spirit, you are a psychological being. And you can look perfectly normal from the outside, but if the inside is all screwed up, you're going to keep making bad decisions. These orphans need that, and they need, what would they call them, like a life coach, where it teaches them how to do life. It teaches them how to get a job. Maybe she'll give them a free ticket to college. They're going to need to learn, be taught by somebody how to do grocery shopping, how to manage their money, how to know who is a bad guy and who is a good guy. Some of those kids are already street smart from going through shit, but who knows? They need to be taught how to be a human. You can't just throw money at them. But I think she might, I just heard that in passing, that she is helping the orphans with some money, like $2,500 a month. But hey, if they get in the wrong crowd, somebody is going to rob them of that money. They're going to sex traffic them. They're going to take their money that they get every month. They have to teach that child when it is aged out of the system. You're going to have to teach them how to. Years ago, I thought about it would be neat if somebody made short videos on narcissistic men and giving an example of a woman and a man, narcissistic man, and the certain things he says, okay, to get her lured in. And there's several different tactics of a narcissist to get a woman lured in. And then that video would also give, as time goes by in the relationship, it could give the little red flags. Even if the girl is watching it and she's like, that'll never happen to me, that'll never happen, he'll never do that. But if the red flags over time in the video, like if they were 10-minute videos or something, time lapsed, and then it shows the certain red flags in the certain narcissists and all different types and all different scenarios and examples. And then the girl could see the video, and then when it happens in real time, she'd be like, oh, I remember seeing that in that video. And if that girl could just understand and tell herself, like I would tell myself, the only thing that helped me is to keep repeating to myself, he never loved me. And that helped my heart break, because I loved him. I still loved him, even though I knew I couldn't live with him. I couldn't be with him. I hated that. I'm like, no. But it doesn't mean you stop loving him overnight. So to ease that pain, because it's painful, to ease that pain, because you know they're dangerous and you can't be with them. Not like, I didn't nobody's ever beat me or laid a hand on me, ever. But it's manipulation, it's mind games. So when you figure that out, you don't always know how to navigate, and plus that your heart is still loves them or whatever, or misses them. But if you could just tell your broken heart, he never loved you, that really helped me get over it. That really did. I don't know why, but it did. Because it tells your mind that they're not, which I knew he never loved me because he's not capable of love. When you're a narcissist, you're not capable of loving anybody else but yourself. And that other human being that they love, that they quote unquote say they love, no, they only love them for what that person can give them. Give them pride, give them money, give them a sense of power, give them whatever their little desire is. That's the only kind of love they know how to have for another human being. So they don't really love you. They don't. And if you know that, and you can remind yourself of that, then it's not so painful, because you're like, I mean, I don't know why. It's not like our hearts get broken because, I mean, maybe sometimes if a girl's heart, I'm usually the one that would leave. But I understand how some women, maybe they leave them and they don't want them to leave. And they're hearted because they left them for maybe another woman, or maybe they left them because they are done with them and that broke their heart. So I don't know what that feels like, but I know that even though I left for my own good, because I saw the game and I'm like, okay, this is sick. This isn't love. But I was already trapped because I was thinking he loved me and I loved him and I loved him. And I'm like, you can't just throw that away. It doesn't just go away. So I had to tell myself, he never loved me. He's not capable of loving me. He never loved me. And that really helped me to not be in as much pain. And like I said, I don't know why, because it's not like he left me. It's not like, now when I was gone, he would always try to get me back in a sick, no apology, no this, no. I mean, it was always a horrible, heart stabbing, horrific thing. But anyway, this is Project Girl, and I've shared before, and I probably should share more often. One time I shared a number I saw on TBN, where if you see a child on the street, a teenager, and they seem to be homeless or trafficked, you can call a number. And I've written these numbers down before, and sometimes I've written them down several times, stick them in my wallet so that I can hand them out. But I don't really, if I happen to see somebody, I'm suspicious, but I never have. But I used to keep them in my wallet. Maybe that's why I don't anymore. And I'm just saying, you could look up your own phone numbers of hotlines for situations like this, to where if you see children, like I walk the dog every day at a park, if a child ever seemed to be suspicious to me that they need help, I would want to be equipped with being able to help them. And a lot of times they're not able to go out shopping if they are a sex trafficked child. They're just stuffed away, never seeing the light of day, because they will, and sometimes they look horrible because they're abused and they don't take them out in public. So, okay, well, those are just my random things. I hope you guys are really enjoying rereading the prophets with that template in mind, because Isaiah makes a lot more sense, and I'm sure Isaiah does, and Ezekiel, and how it all fits in. I gave you a few examples in that post with Isaiah 23, and that's just one chapter. And even 24 through 35 is just a section I haven't checked out. 1 through 23 and um, 36 on back. But some of that isn't pertaining really to the trib, and sometimes it's history. Sometimes, but when I saw that chunk of chapters 24 to 35, and I think it ended at 36, but it obviously went before 24 and wherever it starts over there. But there's chunks of these prophets where you can totally see the trib happening and the hiding happening and the destruction happening. And anyway, so yep, I just think that this is all culminating, even if we all got our way and the good guys won, and there still needs to be a lot of accountability. Mass arrests is how I see it. Everything they've done is against the law. And if there's no justice for breaking the law when you are an official in power, then I don't see how America can be blessed by God when America won't even prosecute criminal activity of... It should be worse when an elected official is a criminal. It should be even more so that they're prosecutable. You know what I mean? Not less so. Oh, fat chance. Highly unlikely. That is horrible, because most of the elected officials are career criminal politicians. And they get in there by lying. That's deception. That is, whatever that term is, that legal term. I quoted it in one of my comments somewhere. They got in by deception. So that's breaking the law. And I don't think if America doesn't prosecute their criminals that are in politics, that's not justice. And you'll read over and over again, justice, false weights and balances, God hates it. It's one of the Proverbs, 7 things he hates: unjust weights and balances. That means that your justice system is crooked or biased, and thieving and fraudulating. And he hates, anyone who hates the poor hates his own soul and hates God, is what the scripture says. God cares deeply about the fatherless, the orphan, the widow for some reason. Back then in the Bible days, a widow was a very serious thing, but I don't know how it fits into today, but I pray for them anyway, because I don't know how they fit in today. But the Bible is today, is eternal. It's yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and forever. It never changes. So God cares about the poor and the fatherless. And just think about all these Korean, they're adults now, but they're all ages, and I'm sure there's stories. I read one where she was ripped from her parents at 11 years old and sent to America, and all of a sudden in some white people's family, because that was a fraudulent adoption case. They were just nabbing Korean kids because the American people wanted these Korean babies. I don't know why. Maybe they thought that they were trying to help. I don't know if it's because they couldn't have their own babies, or if it's because they knew about all of the half-breeds over there from the Germans and the French and the Americans and the whatever. And they knew, so they were wanting to adopt them. But I didn't get into that history part. All I know is that America at that time was wanting a bunch of Korean babies to adopt, and it started to become, they couldn't keep up with the demand, because a lot of those Korean women that had the babies, they kept their babies. They wanted their babies. It's not like every Korean woman that got pregnant by a white guy, military man, gave it up for adoption. No, I'm sure a lot of them kept them, but because the demand was so great in America, the Koreans, it was like a ring, like a racket. They were stealing babies in hospitals and telling the parents that your baby died, or your baby's really sick or something, or Yeah, this girl happened to be 11 years old, and they literally kidnapped her from her parents. Anyway, okay, well, God bless you guys. And yeah, I know there's a lot going on these days, but just don't forget about the poor, the orphan, the widow. And yeah, pray for God's will to be done through Trump, and that God will, no matter what, I don't care how many times Trump gets swayed the wrong way by some very convincing nice guy in the cabinet. God will undo it. God will undo that. So I really don't know what to pray for, because all I pray for is their health and stuff like that, their marriages, because I've always known that once you become a leader, God is the one who put you in there, and God is the one that sways them. And God knows their character anyway. He wanted Biden in there because he knew Biden would be a dud. So he didn't have to really sway Biden unless every now and then. But God knows they have their own free will and their own character, but still, they're just human, and they might feel like, you know what, I want to change it up and do something a little different. I'm the one running, like Trump. Maybe he's like, I'm the one running the show all the time. Let me go ahead and give JD a little project here. And then JD was getting a little too involved with it and starting to influence Trump so much. And I don't know what happened. So God obviously put a stop to that. So just keep in mind that God is the one really who is running this. It even says in Psalms, several places, God rules the nations. He is ruling them. He is running them through the leaders. And if you don't like something that Trump is doing, it's God you're mad at, not Trump. And not only that, maybe just wait a bit, because if it is something that God doesn't like either, God will change it, because God is going to have his way. He put Trump in here. Trump is like a Superman that America has never, ever, ever had. He is almost like a miracle man, all on his own, blessed by God that way. God made him that way. And God plucked him out of society and said, you, I need you in there, because you're the smartest. You're the smartest, you're the most equipped for this mess here in America. And I know your brain is going to know what to do. So yes, I made you like this, Trump, and I need you here with your skills, gifts, and talents, because I know you're going to do a good job. And so part of it is that, and part of it is the swaying, and part of it is the free will, and part of it is that we're just human and we can make mistakes and be influenced by stupid people with democratic tendencies. And I take that back. I'm not going to call it dignity stupid. JD is not stupid, but he is just of a more democratic lean. And anyway, I may be wrong about him, influencing Trump, but I'm just saying, as examples, in the end, God is the one that's going to get his way. So if shit hits the fan, God allowed it, because we can pray for him, but if it's not God's will, he's not going to answer your prayers for him, whatever they are. Like I said, that's just why I pray for his health, his marriage, signs, miracles, and wonders in his life, benign things like signs, miracles, and wonders in his life, like whatever he needs, his peace, his joy, his clarity of mind. I don't ask for, oh God, would you make him start bombing Iran again? No, because I don't know if that was God that stopped it, or a bad influence. And if it was a bad influence or a whatever the other word I was using, influence, then I know God is going to thwart it. I also pray things like that. I say, God, thwart all opposition that is against your will, that is against Trump, trying to get your will done. And there was something else. But yeah, so because there's always going to be resistance. There's always the adversary out here. Because if there wasn't resistance, why would we ever need faith in God? Why would we ever need to lean on him? So yes, he allows resistance. He allows demonically possessed and oppressed people to try to throw a monkey wrench in stuff. So I do pray against that. But I don't want it so easy for Trump that he gets lackadaisical to where, but see, I don't know God's plan. So maybe Trump would never get lackadaisical. And I'm not saying I sit here and I pray that, oh, well, keep a little bit of resistance there for him, God. No, I'm not saying that. Because I know that if there was zero resistance, Trump would be getting thousands more things done that he would like to get done. But there's probably too much resistance. So I ask that God will thwart all opposition and resistance. Because, you know, we all know that Trump is a responsible human being and he's smart and he's just, yeah. So, okay, well, God bless you guys, and I guess that's it. And praying for everybody, all your channels, your laborers, your families, marriages, signs, miracles, and wonders for you, and blessings to increase your territory, protect you, thwart the plans of the enemy, things like that. And the disciples, yeah. So, and we keep the poor and the orphan, fatherless, sex trafficked, unloved, abused, mentally, physically, sexually abused, fatherless, orphan, the poor. Yeah, it's the least of these. And they get helped through our hands and feet, the disciples, the laborers, the presidents, the cabinet members who pass laws, the law upholders. Yeah. So that's what I pray for, but also that Jesus himself comforts them in their pain and their trial, okay? And hopefully you guys continue to pray for them too. Okay, bye.